Good evening, folks. This is Think for Yourself, and this is a video response to Tucker Carlson's video segment with his guest about the soldiers who wrote an op-ed recently in the New York Times about their experience in Iraq. These soldiers are still in the military, and they wrote a very, I thought, astute and insightful op-ed, which I first suggest you go read before you watch Tucker's segment. This way, you'll be able to get a better context of the story. The name of the story is The War as We Saw It. And just Google New York Times op-ed soldiers. The reason I say this is because I'm all about thinking for yourself, and I want people to be aware of how Tucker Carlson frames stories. He's very disingenuous. He's agenda motivated, like most media. Nothing new there. And I think it's important that people review and study the news through fresh eyes, through their own insight, and not fall prey to the consent that they're trying to manufacture from the public. They want you to be parrots. I'm saying think for yourself. First off, be aware at the very beginning of the video that Tucker Carlson has framed this story like a nice picture to be, for this op-ed to be on the side of maybe the surge isn't working. Their piece in the New York Times is much more in depth than taking such a narrow view of things. And they talk about what the core problems are in Iraq, the political situation, and the strategy that the United States government and army is using to fight the counterinsurgency. They are very, very eloquent in this piece of why they think this strategy is a failed strategy, or a strategy that cannot win in the long term. Everyone, including Tucker and Bill O'Reilly and all those guys, would like you to believe this is a black and white scenario. Surge is working, surge is not working. The debate is not whether the surge is working or the surge is not working. Of course, if you put more men to guard an area, there are going to be fewer people who are going to be able to blow things up. But the fact of the matter is, long term, when the American soldiers leave, which they will, what is the long-term solution? And this is what this article is about. Now, I want you to be aware that Tucker in the beginning says, he tries to slyly quote these fellas in his framing of the story, and he says, they say, caught in the crossfire of the Iraqi people, citizens fearful of the terrorists and insurgents, and growing wary of the continued American presence there. Read the article. They never say that. This is a perfect example of how he wants to frame what these people are saying to fit his very, very narrow and myopic argument. This is not an argument, folks. I want people to think for themselves. Be aware when the media is talking to you. What is motivating them? Be aware of their partisanship. Be aware so you can have your own honest, truthful insight into a cause. Now, he also has a guest on there that wants to say things like, well, you know, we've got to take with a grain of salt everything anyone is saying there, because most of the people don't know what they're doing. This is reverse logic. They want you to believe that there is a legitimate debate about whether the surge is working or not working. But then in the same tone, they want to discredit that anybody knows what the heck's going on, so nobody is legitimate, and why should we listen to anyone? It's a very devious trick they use to try and get you to not pay too much attention to what these soldiers are saying. Now remember, these are soldiers who are on the ground there, who are doing day-to-day affairs. Now, I don't know about you, but I am very interested in hearing what soldiers who are there think about the situation. As long as they're not giving away any military secrets or strategies and just sharing their ideas and philosophies, I would think that the American public would be very interested in this. Because, as we know, we don't trust politicians who come back and say, well, I walked in the market and it felt like a market in Indiana to me. 2 million refugees in Iraq. 2 million others displaced. No electricity on many days, or very irregular electricity. Bad phone service, if any at all. Horrible sanitation situation there. I mean, no homes, no food. Are people in these conditions, ask yourself, would you be able to help form a legitimate government or make intelligent political decisions under this situation? Also, keep in mind that the logic with which Tucker wants you to follow, the logic he wants you to follow, is one that is either or. Be aware that the media does this to us so we will not think for ourselves. Multiple choice is always easier than essay, right? Please read the article yourself. Watch how Tucker frames this, and then ask yourself, do you really know more about the situation in Iraq from watching Tucker's coverage of the New York Times op-ed or from reading it yourselves? Don't let Tucker dissuade you from not reading it. Read it. This has been Think for Yourself.